Thank you so much for being here on this semi-rainy Tuesday, or at least it's a little rainy here. But I'm really excited to kick off our Student Success Conference today with our first event, which is A Dollar and a Dream, Financial Aid and Financial Literacy. My name is Anastasia Harden, and I'm one of the senior program coordinators for Student Support Services, and I'm going to kick us off today. Next, I wanted to take a second to share the Rutgers University Land Acknowledgement. And I'm going to read it out loud. Some of you might be familiar with this, and some of you, this might be the first time that you're hearing this. So we acknowledge that the land on which we stand is the ancestral territory of the Lenape people. We pay respect to Indigenous people throughout the Lenape diaspora, past, present, and future, and honor those who have been historically and systematically disenfranchised. We also know that Rutgers University, like New Jersey and the United States as a nation, were founded upon the exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. If this is something that you are hearing for the first time and you'd like to learn more about, definitely encourage you to check out on our website, diversity.rutgers.edu, Honor Native Lands. And so we want to take a moment, especially for Access Week, when we're thinking about making sure we're representing all peoples in the space, that we acknowledge that. Another thing that I want to take a second to do, which I think I feel is so important this year, especially with everything going on in the world, just want to acknowledge that we know there's a lot of different things happening in this current time and space. And so we know there's currently political events, social issues, things going on with the COVID pandemic, things in your personal life, ongoing challenges for groups of people that have been going on for a very long time. And so I know personally, many times I'm coming into events, coming into spaces, and I have all of these things weighing on my mind and impacting me. And so I know that these things may be impacting you as well as you join us today. And so I want to thank you for being here. Acknowledge that there may be these things going on, and also acknowledge that if you need to take space during the event, if you need to step off, we're here. We hope to engage with you. We hope to be able to see you off camera, but if you need to step back and take time for yourself, we acknowledge that as well. All right, so now I get the pleasure of handing it over to my colleague, Andrew Hines, who's going to be the moderator of this session. And he'll tell you a little bit more about who we are at Student Support Services.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for coming out to our part one of our Access Week events. As Anastasia said, my name is Andrew Hines. I am also the other senior program coordinator with Student Support Services. Before we begin, I'm going to give you a little background about SSS because I know all of you guys are not SSS students. So Thrive Student Support Services is a federally funded TRIO program designed to empower undergraduate students to persist through college, maintain good academic standing, and graduate on time. So a lot of our purpose for our program is help, resources, information-based. We're trying to provide as many avenues possible to help our students in as many ways as we can. All right, you can go to the next slide. Cool. So our agenda today, just a brief overview of it. The welcome and overview is what we just did. I'm going to define some key terms around financial wellness for you guys. Then I'm going to introduce our panelists that we have. We're going to have a discussion, and then we will have time at the end for some Q&A for the panelists, or just in questions in general you guys have.
And throughout the session today, if you all have questions for the panelists, if you have questions for us, we want to make sure that you can engage in the chat. So please throw those questions in the chat, because some of our SSS staff who are here supporting are going to be recording those questions, so we might save them for the Q&A.
So we're going to start off with a little icebreaker. I want to know and hear from you guys, from everyone, please. What does financial wellness mean to you currently right now? You guys can put it in the chat. And if anyone wants to unmute and say a few words, please do. We definitely encourage everyone to speak and not always participate in the chat. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys. So please put it in the chat or unmute. What does financial wellness mean to you right now currently. I'll give everyone a moment or so to do that. Doesn't have to be a a long detailed answer, just something quick. What does it mean to you? So a few answers we have: savings, smart spending, feeling secure, options, understanding income to pay most of your bills, emergency fund. Does anyone want to unmute and say it before we move on?
Hey, Andrew, can I interrupt?
Go ahead, Gloria.
Yeah, so to me, financial wellness, at least I'm thinking about having access to tools and education on how to make better financial decisions. That's why I mentioned the emergency fund in my answer.
Thank you, Gloria. That's important. Anyone else before we move on?
Hi, my name is Ebony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I think financial wellness is also having multiple streams of income to build your financial wealth.
Definitely, definitely. Multiple incomes are super important. Thank you for sharing. All right. So if nobody else, then we're going to move on. Thank you for that. I had everybody do that because that's going to set up the next topics in our presentation, defining financial wellness. The financial wellness is having the knowledge, ability, and desire to make intelligent financial decisions, as well as having the capacity to live a happy life within one's means. Financial wellness is increasing positive financial behaviors like saving, reducing debt, and budgeting, creation of financial plan to reach desired financial goals, reduce financial stress. Financial wellness is not one size fits all. Financial wellness will look different on everyone, especially for first generation college students. Just being wealthy, wealth alone does not create financial well-being. And then some key financial literacy terms that we have. So a grant is a type of aid that does not have to be prepaid, often need-based. Loans, money that needs to be repaid, but the borrower generally with interest. And there are two types of loans. There's subsidized and unsubsidized. For the subsidized, interest is not accrued while you are in school. Unsubsidized interest is charged during deferment and grace periods. So those are very two important to know. Make sure when if you have to take out any loans, you're doing your research and knowing what type of loans you have, because you want to know when your interest is going to start. And then a budget, a plan for using income to meet financial obligations. It tracks how much of income a person receives and details how the money will be allocated to pay for expenses, building savings, and financial goals. All right, credit. I know a lot of students, people in general, in college or after college, the first thing they do is get a credit card. So it's important to know about credit. It's a financial agreement in which money is borrowed for a purchase and paid back at a later date. Consumers make purchases that wouldn't be able to be afforded if they had to pay the bill in full price in one installment. Common forms of credit include loans and credit cards. And then savings. Money you set aside in a secure place, such as a bank account that you can use for future emergencies or to make specific purchases. So a lot of you guys said this as well in the chat as having a savings and emergency fund. So it's good that you guys are already starting to think about this.
And Andrew, one thing I wanted to add in here is I threw in the chat, if you have questions about any of these terms, these are just some general terms that might come up in our discussion today. But there is absolutely no shame in not understanding or knowing what any of these terms mean. I know when I was a college student, especially as a first-gen college student, I did not understand credit. And when people would ask me if I did, I would pretend like I did. I was like, oh yeah, sure, get a credit card. Okay, I get it. But I say that to say that we want this discussion to be a safe space. So if you do have questions about any of these terms that might come up in the discussion today, I encourage you to put them in the chat. You can also share them privately if you don't feel comfortable sharing them. But we want this to be a space where everyone can learn and that you can really have your questions answered. So there are no wrong questions here. All right, hand it back to you, Andrew.
Thank you. So now this brings me to our panelist discussion. I'm going to allow each panelist to unmute and introduce themselves briefly, but I just want to, before we start, say that all of these panelists are RU graduates. We kept that in mind because that means that they are all at one point in the position that you guys are going to be in or are in already. So please, listen to what they have to say, ask questions, and if there are anything that they mention resource-wise that you want to get more information on, let us know and we can connect you. So I'll allow you guys, we can start with Lennox.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lennox Mars Jr. I'm an alum from Rutgers University. I think I'm the last of Livingston College, 2010. I am a current business owner. I own a support coordination agency that deals with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I've been doing that for 5 years, but prior to this endeavor, I was also a business owner for a clothing boutique, and I also threw events in my college. So I've been in the business space for about 15 years. I started out in the EOF and student support services programs. And when Andrew told me that, I call him Drew, when Andrew told me that he was having this panel discussion, it's quite near and dear to my heart about EOF and SSS because they kind of go hand in hand. I actually worked for student support services as a lab consultant. And I was an RA in my tenure for going Rutgers. So I understand the trials and tribulations that you all have. And being a first generation student, I know the trials and tribulations that you have with finances. I had to learn pretty much from the ground up. So if there's anything that you need from me, please feel free to ask in the comments below, or just ask me directly. I can give you my information as well. But yeah, man, it started from student support services, and a lot of the things we'll unpack as the day progresses. Thank you.
Thank you, Lennox. Mark, you go next.
Hey everyone, my name is Mark Dolphin, two-time Rutgers University graduate. I have my master's degree in labor and employee relations, graduated in 2018. Currently work for a tech startup called Odeco. Check us out. And also am I actually run an investment club with Andrew Hines. So happy to be here with everyone.
Thank you for that. And then last but not least, Kashay.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Kashay. I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, from Rutgers, and I'm currently the academic coach for financial literacy. I also was a student with SSS, and I started out as a work study student, and now I'm here as academic coach.
For those of you who might have had, Kashay is also a RU First teacher as well with SSS. I'm not sure if some of her students are in here or some of you have taken it. So just to know, so she does have a lot of insight and things about SSS if you guys have any questions. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our panelists. So our theme today is $1 in a Dream panel discussion. We pretty much wanna unpack what finances mean to all of you guys, what financial wellness means, and kind of just figure out, what that, how that framework is, and how can we better support you, and how can you know how Rutgers has systems set up to support you. And then personally, just setting up your own financial goals. So that way you're starting early and you're not so, it's not so new to you once you graduate. So I'm going to start with a couple questions for our panelists, and then we'll get into a discussion. So you guys can take it one by one in the order we did the intros, or if you want to come out of order, that's fine. But the first question I have is, what does financial wellness mean to each of you? It can mean what it means to you now, or what did it mean to you when you were a student, however you want to answer it.
For me, financial wellness means living within like your specific means, like at each point in time, in your life. It's like different when you're a student versus, when you're earlier on in your career, and then a couple years in, and having the discipline to know which purchases are actually necessary. So being able to differentiate between, a spur of the moment purchase and something that is actually gonna, benefit you or have a purpose. And also being able to set smart goals when it comes to budgeting and spending.
With financial wellness, I always often think about being broke. So when you think of something broke, it's broken, right? You break a bone, you break pottery, you're broke. So when you start from there, what happens when you break something? You have to limp. So financially being well means that you can't be broke. That's how I started out, right? From flat broke. I was terrible at money management growing up, because it was always money in, money out. And I just started from ground zero, which was, I'm tired of being broke, right? And so that's where financial wellness and literacy. I think that when you come from the bottom, or just the bottom of anything, understanding, there's only room to grow up. So when you think about it's just what it is, financial wellness. How could you improve your health? Is almost like your financial health. So what I do is I started from the ground up, and I took inventory of how much money I'm spending and what I'm spending on. You can blow $20, $50 on food alone in college, right? You want to go out to eat, you want to go out to party, you like nice things, you like clothes. So a lot of that was me curbing my habits. So financial wellness was for me taking inventory on my spending habits, taking inventory on what are the triggers, or what are the things, or my impulses of being broke, right? So a lot of my habits, and I'm going to make I statements, big on that in college, right? I statements and RA stuff. I'm going to make an I statement. I like nice things. I'm an adult and I still like nice things, but I have to be able to afford it, right? And not put myself in an uncomfortable financial position. So one of the major things I did in college was understanding that if I like a suit jacket, or if I like a nice pair of shoes, I was able to work for that and afford it. But however, I am not going to buy another pair of nice shoes in the next 6 months, or the next 8 months, or the next year. So a lot of it was some discipline involved in understanding that if I reward myself for this one thing, I know that I'm okay with then saving up. And then you start to look at different metrics, right? Different measures of your wealth, starting from where you are. I read a book called it was, dang, I can't even remember the name of the book, but it was done by a pastor, and he told me to save 10% of it. It was a small book, only 100 pages. 10% of your money, and it's just breaking down something so simple as 10 cents, or you know what I'm saying, 10%. You know what I'm saying, 10 cents off of every dollar. If you have $10, $1 off of every $10, and so on and so forth, right? So it came that easy where if I had $100, I just saved 10. I just put it away so I have 90. So, and then I don't look at that money. I just created, and this was my time when I'm telling you, I was very terrible at spending. I would create a bank account where that money I didn't see, I just kept putting it into a savings where I just didn't see it. Until I was able to be mature enough in my spending habits where I can do that, where I could be able to manage it properly. But I just knew that I just need to squirrel money away until I was able to be financially responsible.
For me, financial wellness right now means options, right? Giving myself options as far as extra sources of income, investments, and things of that nature. In college, early on, financial wellness to me meant just having $20 for the week so I could go party, have some extra food just in case the calf was over. So, and also getting fly. At that time period, I was actually working for Lennox Mars, getting around $200 a paycheck. So to me, if as long as I could spend $170 of it, had $30 left for clothes. I mean, $30 left for gas and parties. I was good at the time, but eventually got into investments and got into understanding money a little bit more. So it happens to everyone. You kind of get that progression of understanding money a little bit more. That's financial wellness to me. Options.
So Lennox kind of started touching on it, kind of how the mindset changes once you want to get out of that, being broke and not having, and you want to create a plan for yourself to start acquiring more money, putting more money aside. So can you guys talk about after college now, that savings initiative that started, and what you had to do either in your life to start to save, or what event happened that made you say, you know what, I gotta chill out. Like I really gotta buckle down and put money aside because now it's real.
I could go first. For me, it happened the year after I graduated, or a couple months after, with my master's degree and working for a company that I always thought was a dream company. First of all, I wasn't getting paid as much as I would like, but I think at that point it was when I realized that I need to start saving. So I used to save literally half of my checks from that point, right? And I wasn't getting much, but I knew, because I hated my job so much, I wanted to save enough money to give myself options to be able to leave, or just in case I got fired. But I used to take my little money that I got every 2 weeks, saved half of it, and then just squirreled it away and put it to the side. But I think just kind of having that experience, that first time having the job that you don't like, for me at least, made me realize, like, hey, I need to make sure the money I'm making at work, it doesn't keep me here forever, and kind of gives me a escape plan just in case.
Yeah, likewise, just to piggyback on Mark, it started in college. I actually had a mutual fund in college. Started a mutual fund through my bank. Didn't know anything about mutual funds at the time, but I just spoke to the investment banker. They gave me the literature, and I just started going on Google and researching about mutual funds and the type of mutual funds that I wanted. So I started one in college, and when I got a hold of my spending habits, it was more so like, what could I put away to pretty much push this fund, the mutual fund, right? You need money. So I had an on-campus job. I worked for the lab, and then I used to work because the other part of the financial literacy is that you need finances, or you need income. So I worked for the computer lab for SSS for 2 years. And then when I became an artist, I no longer have that job. So then I would work, what was it? I was a ref for intramurals. And then I used to do canvassing. I had every job under the sun. Don't judge me. I did canvassing for any up and coming politician, congressmen, senators. It didn't matter whether it was Democratic or Republican. I did it all. But that money I would put away, because I said I could save at least $100 a month and put it in my mutual fund on top of the 10% I was putting away in whatever money that I was getting. So 10% I was putting away, and then $100 a month until the end of the duration of my college. So when I was able to graduate, I had a nest egg saved up for my rainy day, right? So it took me a while I didn't get any really good jobs coming out of college. But I was able to use that money to then not be able to harass my mom for dollars when I got out of college, because I had that nest egg saved up, and then also I had I was working security until I was able to land a really good job. So I had multiple jobs, but I always was squirreling away money, so that way I can be financially independent. And then, you know, you just continue to read more literature. And I read some more. A lot of it is reading, right, and self pursuit. But I was reading something where which is true, you need at least 6 months to a year of income saved up, right? We live in the times of the pandemic. We live in times of uncertainty. So it was always good to have those cash reserves on hand. So the mutual fund helped. Other investment tools helped. And nowadays too, you have like Robinhood and Acorns where you can just automate it. I didn't have to go to the bank every month. Now you just, whatever you can track your spending right there on your account. So you didn't have to have like you didn't have to know like Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that. You can just use the tools that you have at your disposal.
For me, my savings habits also started in undergrad when I had conversations with my SSS advisor at the time, who dealt with the financial aid side, and it just came to balancing the spending habits as a first year student, especially coming from home. For a lot of people, it's your first time away, living away from your family. So it's like you get this kind of excitement, you feel the freedom and want to spend all your money if you have, like a part-time job. So, I worked with my advisor to, discuss like different goals that I had. I was interested in like studying abroad. There are scholarships for those, but, for some, you have to, contribute from your own pockets when it comes to that. And, so we talked about, having like summer jobs. So you had that additional income when you were out of school. And so, yeah, so my habits started earlier on. So I was always a saver. And when it came to after graduation, when you graduate, just because you graduate, you don't, automatically or magically become like a expert when it comes to financial management and, knowing what exactly it means to be a fully functioning adult out in the world. So I just took the time to evaluate my goals. As a lot of you probably know, depending on your like intended career field, some people, graduate and go directly into a position, and then others, like myself, have to go through more schooling. So I had to, look at what I wanted to achieve, set a flexible timeline for myself, because, things don't always go as planned, and, went from there to set the goal for myself, look into like scholarships and such that could, help manage with the schooling, and then go from there and setting a budget, looking at, what I had available to me, and just like using internet resources so I could, stay within my means.
So thank you guys. So now I'm gonna actually take
Oh, Drew, somebody asked what was a mutual fund in the chat box.
Okay.
I just wanted to explain that a mutual fund is either a compilation of stocks, bonds, different financial measures that you can pay your money and it goes into. So it basically tracks the market. So a mutual fund, depending on the type of mutual fund you can get something that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more moderate, or reserved. They usually have like packages, and they're just a compilation of stocks. The newer term or the newer metrics people have is like what they call index funds. But a mutual fund in essence is just a compilation of stocks or bonds that you can pay your money, and you have access to all of those that industry. So it's broken down by sectors. So you can it'll tell you in like a pie chart, right? You have a pie chart, it'll tell you like 40% is in pharmaceutical, 20% is in tech, 10% is in fixed assets like electricity and things like that that don't really make much money on a yearly basis, but it's just safe. And then you can measure which you can track which kind of which mutual fund you would like to be involved in, depending on where you are in your life. So I was younger, so I went. You would go into electricity, you would go into like railroad bonds, you would go into governmental bonds, because at the tail end of your life, you don't want to stomach the risk. So that's basically in essence a mutual fund. But you can look it up on Wikipedia. I'm sure there's somebody who has like a better analysis than I do.
Thank you for that, Lennox. And we will definitely, hopefully, have more questions on that for our question and answer, because that's definitely important, especially as another source of income going forward. So now I have a two-part question for you guys. I want to know, what resources did you use at Rutgers, if you were in that mindset at the time, to start building good financial habits? And then what resources do you use now in your adult life to continue those habits?
I'll go first. So one of the first things, to piggy off what Lennox said, I actually was invested in college as well and had a little nest egg after college. But the main resources that I use, I think that most students should use, is other students, right? Like coming into conversation and talk to your peers. I used to go literally just sit down at the Rutgers Business School just to do work, right? Just to be around just kind of the business majors, to be around different people, to kind of hear different conversations and have different conversations. So I think the first resource definitely as a student I used was, other students and picking up those relationships. Right now, I read a lot, right? Whether it's books, newspapers. I know at Rutgers, we had our Wall Street Journal for free, right? So if I was still in college right now, I would subscribe to that, right? You don't even have to read a whole article, but even the notification pop-ups, you could just kind of get some things from that. So I think the best resources you can use as a student is other students, for sure, and kind of build that community. And then right now, I think for me, I just read a lot, and you get a lot of information from reading.
So my number one resource was SSS, reaching out to my advisors, going to workshops. And then also, I know the Rutgers Credit Union on campus, they had workshops also every now and again to talk about, credit and, what it's like, starting to build your credit as a college student, and like the different types of credit cards that are out there. But yeah, so mostly, SSS, and just, talking to, the advisors, who, they were in the same similar positions as us, especially as like new grads.
Yeah, like Ms. Richards said, I started out with SSS, and SSS had actually a very good, it sounds cliche, but they actually had a very good workshop game. The workshops at SSS really helped me a lot. And also they had incentives, right? At the time, EOF and SSS had an incentive where if you attended three or four workshops in the semester, you were eligible for a grant. And I used to max that out every year. And it was surprising that no one would capitalize on those grants or those scholarships. It was actually probably like one of two. It was me and another girl who used to just max those things out. And you'll be surprised that your peers aren't going to these workshops and actually applying to this free money. I capitalized on it every single semester until the point they were like, Lennox, you have to share this money. I did that with the EOF thing too. I did it with the Livingston College Scholarship. When you're a broke college student, you can't leave no money on the table. And as a business owner now, I still don't leave any money on the table. Why? It's there. Utilize it. And because remember, financial literacy and financial income starts with finances. If you have no money, you can't really you're like you're a boat without a motor, or a boat without oars, right? You can't really move. So you have to kind of do things within your scope scope, right? So when I was in college, I utilized these scholarships. I utilized making sure that I was on time for my, with the W-2 and the income tax stuff. So that way I didn't get penalized for money. I made sure that I didn't take unsubsidized loans. So that way it doesn't accrue interest while I'm still in college, right? So these are the things that I did to kind of save money also, right? There's the cost saving tools, all buying books from your peers, buying books from your peers as opposed to buying it from the bookstore, catching them before they sell their books because you know you're going to take you're going to take this class next semester or next year. Those are all cost saving tools that make sure that you're not spending a lot of money outside of the pocket. So I know that in the beginning, I was terrible with spending money, but at the end of my college tenure, probably around I would say the end of my sophomore year, going to my junior year, I was actually making more money than a lot of my peers, and not being uncomfortable, because I was just learning and sponging up all the information that was at my disposal, like this workshop here that Miss Hart and Mr. Hines was so kind to throw. And also throughout the year, make sure that you attend these workshops. And I kind of put like the minority investors group. That was one that I used to be a part of. The Black Student Union used to throw certain events. Some fraternities and sororities do financial events. I would just talk to like the people from like Wells Fargo or Chase that would come in the random student centers, and you would ask them these questions because they would be bored. No one's going to them. And you would ask them questions on, what do you think about a mutual fund? What do you think about stocks? What do you think about life insurance, right? Things that are a little ways off, but it comes very fast.
Thank you, guys. So I know in college, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's ever too late to get your money right, but you definitely want to do it, sooner than later. And I know in college sometimes it could feel like it's a lot to try to get yourself together, whether it's because of your loans or just personal debt you're accruing because of what you have to do, or just some bad decisions you've made, just being young, or just trying to have fun. So, what piece of advice you could give a college student right now? One piece of advice to kind of either start their financial wellness journey, or if they're already, have that mindset and starting to think about it, something to continue to keep them moving forward, would you give them?
Start now. Start when you have no money, right? Every college student is broke. Start now. Start with the small money, because as you begin to get jobs in large money, you're going to still have the same habits. So if you can't do it with the small dollar, you won't do it with the big money. A lot of times people say, oh, wait till I become a millionaire, then I'm going to be good with my finances. That's a lie. People win the lottery every year and they become broke in a matter of 5 years. So you have to start now with the small money, right? Start with your personal paycheck. Start with your work study. Start with your your job at home if you have that. Start with the small money first. The other thing too is that realize that those tools and those metrics that you have at college is not free when you get out into after college. It's not free at all. You have to pay for that information. You have to, you got to realize that Rutgers is a great hub, right? You don't have to pay for printing, or they give you a limited amount of printing. They give you everything at your disposal. So you think that you kind of have that, right? But when you get out, you don't have any of that. You don't have any of the resources. You don't even have Wi-Fi, right? You got to go to Starbucks to get free Wi-Fi. So I'm telling you this to say, like, it's not free. This panel right here is not a free panel in the real world. This is $1,200 to $1,500, and that's how I start to think. Is I put a dollar amount to everything. You name it, I put a dollar amount to it, because it costs you. Like even movie theater things that you have on campus, events, workshops. People are charging big money for financial workshops, big money for two-day conferences, big money for weekend conferences. big money for 4 hours. That, you know, people are charging $3. I myself am charging some crazy money. Not crazy, but good enough. You know, you know, knowing your personal worth. You guys say that you're attending, you'll see people's eyes light up, and you start to charge. You guys can charge $20 an hour for certain things that, you know, if you refine your skills, $30 an hour, you can do it. So just start now, because it's not too late.
So Mr. Mars took my answer. Definitely start now, right? So as I transitioned away from partying into my upperclassmen years, what I actually did was I had an Acorns account, which is like an app, which Mr. Mars also mentioned. I used to literally invest $5 a day from the time I was a junior, and literally just cashed out probably a couple months ago, right? So I kept that in an account for 5-6 years and kind of watched the money accumulated. Something super small, right? $5 a day. If I didn't have $5 for that day, I waited till I got paid, because I always had a job on campus and put in like $10, $20 for whatever that amount is. But that small number of $5 a day, by the time I finished school up until last year, you know, it grew substantially, right? Not just the $5 you put, but the interest. So whatever idea you have, just do it. So, you know, start it now. If you want to start a company, if you want to start doing something with your friends that's kind of going to generate revenue, just go ahead and do it. But definitely taking that steps now. Don't give yourself any excuses. You know, Mr. Mars basically stole everything I was going to say. Take advantage of your time on campus. Like, meet everybody you could meet, talk to everybody. I still talk to some of my professors, and a lot of my best friends are from Rutgers University. So go out there, you know, go outside your bubble, get an opportunity to learn from different people, different you know, people around the country, really around the world at Rutgers University. So please take advantage of that, right? So just start now, start something, start today.
My advice would kind of with what they already said, you know, starting to set those goals right now, so you know where you stand. Put in your current like expenses on paper. You can find like free templates just on Google or on Pinterest, so you can start to, you know, see what your finances currently look like, and try to build those habits while you're in school, so it's not such a foreign concept, you know, when you go out into the working world. And also start looking for summer opportunities that you can have additional income. I know SSS and all the other different programs under DICE, and also Res Life has opportunities for students. So I think now is a good time to start, you know, deciding what you want to do with your summer. And also, I don't know how many of y'all already have like credit cards, but, you know, being mindful when it comes to those tiny powerful cards, and, you know, don't look at it as if, you know, it's free money. Don't, you know, try not to spend what you don't have. So, you know, try to build the self-control there as well.
Thank you, guys. So before we transition into our question and answer section, I'm going to allow Kashe just to briefly go over a financial a one-pager we have for you guys. So we're gonna send it to you, but I just gonna share my screen and show it, and kind of have Kashe just briefly go through it. Hold up 1 second. While I'm pulling this up, guys, if you have any questions you're thinking about, please don't forget to ask them, put them in the chat. We're going to try to get to everyone's question. We will also give out anyone's information you guys would like to have a further conversation after this.
Okay, so upcoming deadline, April 15th, for those of you who haven't submitted your FAFSA yet. It's a good idea to submit it as soon as possible. I know the Rutgers priority deadline already passed, but there still is a deadline for state aid. And then those are just the links to the financial aid website, student accounts, billing and cashier services. So that's where you actually make payments. And then the office of the registrar. I know all these offices kind of merged and are in one building over on Bush now. So there's the address and their operating hours. And there's a number that you can call, I think, that leads you to the info line. But on their website, they have this new thing where you put in like your information and then they reach out to you. So that's very convenient if you aren't able to take the trip over to Bush. And one other thing I'll mention as it relates to the financial aid office, adding on to what Lennox said earlier about not leaving any money on the table. It's always, if you're ever struggling, reach out to the financial aid office, let them know any issues that you're having, and they're always willing to work with students. And you can also write a letter of appeal even before you receive your award letter each year. So you kind of know, where you stand already, and you kind of have an idea of what you would be expecting. So that's also another thing that you could do, and you can reach out to me or other SSS staff if you need help with writing appeals. And then below that, it's just some other important links for checking if you have any, outstanding documents that financial aid might need. They usually email you, but you can always, be proactive and always check it to make sure you're not missing anything. And then on their website, they do tell you about the different types of aid and also link you to different types of scholarships for each school. So if you're in the School of Arts and Sciences, SEBS, engineering, there are different opportunities. And also if any of you are in Douglas Residential College, they also provide scholarships for the school year and also over the summer. So that's another thing that you can look into. And then the link to staying eligible, there are certain requirements. You have to be in good academic standing to keep receiving financial aid. So that's something you should always be aware of. And student employment, that links you to the Handshake website. I don't know if, well, you all should have set up your Handshake profile by now. If you need assistance with that, you can also reach out to us. So it tells you opportunities for that. I don't know if any of you do work study, talks about that as well. And Rutgers has this, I don't know how new it is, it's fairly new to me, this financial aid TV hub where they have a whole bunch of videos that talk about, there's videos on the FAFSA about how you can start budgeting as students, and it talks about loans, all of that, because they have a whole bunch of important resources that can help you create good habits when it comes to money. And then below that, I know all of you already have completed the FAFSA and HISA, coming into college, but if you want a refresher, those links go to their website. They provide workshops, and there's also a document on there that goes through like the FAFSA questions one by one and explain anything, any questions you might have. And yeah, so and other resources, more resources on banking and budgeting as students.
Thank you, Kashe. And we're going to send that out to everyone before they leave, so everyone will get a copy of this for you guys to be able to refer to it. Now we're going to move on to our question and answer portion. So if anyone has any questions that they haven't already put in the chat, you can either put them in the chat now and I'll relay the question, or you can unmute and ask the question for each panelist or all three, if it's something for everyone.
And while we wait for that, I just want to ensure that, the questions that were already kind of addressed. If there was anything else anyone wanted to add. The question somebody asked was just how much less do we get if we miss the Rutgers priority deadline? There was an answer in the chat, but maybe we can chat a little bit about that so people who don't have the chat open can know the answer.
Sure, we can answer that. 1 second.
If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna hop on for a second. I also can't see myself, so hopefully I'm very cute right now. So the way that it works is like there's a set amount of money and then they go through all of the applications and then there should be some amount left afterwards for the students who didn't meet the deadline. So I don't think that there's like a specific amount or a set reduction. It just depends on how much is left over in the pool of money. So there's that. I also popped in the chat. I'm not sure who this applies to, but Rutgers just announced a big change in the way that they're doing financial aid for limited income students who are New Jersey residents. So that might be you. If it is, like, take a look at that. It might be really great for you. This is not an answer to that question, but I just want to throw out there as one of the people who looks through financial aid documents of our students, at least. I think we all have financial problems that pop up from time to time. I know I do, and I imagine, you know, most people, you know, even if you haven't heard it, have had some like financial issues pop up. So as a person who works for the university, we love it if you tell us that. And if at the first sign of trouble, if you tell us, we're more than happy to help. I know that sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, embarrassing, but we would love to help you when it starts looking like a problem instead of when it becomes an emergency. But please, you know, reach out to someone if you're having short-term problem or a big problem, or if you see trouble in the future, or if you look at your bills and something doesn't look right, or if there are fraudulent charges, there are people at Rutgers who can help, and we're happy to do so. So sorry for that little aside, but I'm gonna turn off and go back to you guys. Thank you.
No, thank you, Dina, for answering that and giving us more information on that. Kind of to piggyback off what Dina said, you know, if there's like she said, you guys have any financial, you know, issues and things that may be sensitive for you to talk about, you definitely can come and make an appointment with us if you don't mind speaking, and we can definitely find means to help you. At some point, everyone is probably going to have a financial issue in college for the most part, big or small, but at some point there's going to be some financial hurdle you'll have to get through. So it's definitely important to address that issue early and try to think of a solution now rather than later. Are there any questions? Anyone want to unmute and ask a question or put something in the chat?
There is a question, but I don't know if it's exactly related to this. Should we go ahead and talk about that?
Sure. What's the question?
It says, how would it work if the EFC is 0, but you only have a semester left?
And I can jump in and for that one and say, so please let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Almani. If you have an expected family contribution of 0, and you've had an expected family contribution of 0, then I'm not exactly sure what you mean by if you only have 1 semester left. Usually you receive your financial package for your last semester, and it will be based on that EFC. And so you shouldn't see a significant change in your financial aid package, even if it's your last semester. But if that does not answer that question, please tell me more in the chat and I can jump in there. But I also saw that Ebony had her hand up.
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm sorry, good afternoon. I had a question in regards to the financial aid. Anytime I do my FAFSA application regarding my income tax return from the previous year, I only claim one child, but I have 3 children. I let their father claim the other 2, even though they mostly reside with me. So is that something that I can put in as far as an appeals process when it comes to the FAFSA financial aid?
So I know that one of the options is you can contact the Office of Financial Aid and discuss change of circumstance. So there is some funding outside of like the traditional funding that's available. And I would encourage you to reach out to financial aid directly and try and make an appointment with someone. And I also want to say, like, sometimes it's very difficult to get a hold of the right person. And I would just encourage anyone in that situation to just keep reaching out until you find someone who seems knowledgeable.
Hi, this is not Christina. This is Sherry Cunningham. I do not claim to know all the financial aid information, but I used to work in financial aid. And so your financial aid is always going to be based on what you put on your FAFSA. So if you claimed 1 or you claimed 2 in your household and your federal tax documents are then uploaded and match your FAFSA, you cannot claim a change in circumstance that does not match your FAFSA. So unless you change your federal documents, that's what they're going to go off of, if that makes any sense. So it has to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you put 1 on here, you got to say 1 on there. So you may be able to talk to them about professional judgment if you have a personal matter that has changed your situation, but they're always going to refer back to your FAFSA, which is then linked to your IRS tax forms and what you claimed on there. That's it. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Sherry. Are there any other questions?
There's one question in the chat. It says, I would like to know about the lower tuition for students who make less than 100,000, and will that be included with the financial aid?
Anastasia, do we have information on that?
I do not. I think, James, if you're referring to the new initiative, the link that Dina shared, thank you for resharing that, Dina. I would encourage you to check that out and have a follow-up conversation with someone in SSS, either Kashay or myself, and we can talk more about what that would look like for your financial aid specifically. Yes. While we have the panelists here, I wondered if anyone else had any questions for our alum panel. And if not, I have a question, but I was trying to hold off. So, Gloria. Okay, Gloria has a question. Gloria, you can go ahead and jump in.
Thanks, Anastasia. Just a quick question to the panelists. So I'm someone who likes to budget. So then I guess my question is, what's the most common mistake you see someone when they're budgeting?
Good question. I think when someone's budgeting, they try to run on a shoestring budget and they don't budget for mishaps or incidentals, things that may occur. So a lot of times people have a restrict budget, but then there may be an unforeseen circumstance that may throw your budget out of whack. Or if it's something that's consistent that you're not budgeting for, it's called scope creep. Even businesses have it. Things that that become a potential expense that we ignore. Like I know a lot of people experiencing inflation, right? So the cost of your goods have just went up, like toothpaste, toiletries, things of that nature. So a lot of times that additional 50 cents comes out of somewhere. And so when you make your budget and then you see the numbers, they don't add up and you're like, what's going on here? You have to kind of take in consideration that everything else has gone up. So a lot of times you just got to be careful. If you're writing a real strict budget, you have to kind of put some money aside or think about like, you have to give like about 20% of it. So like, it's like an 80-20 rule, right? So it's like 20% of your plan may mess up. So, 80% is good, but have something where you know that you can supplement that income somewhere. So that's pretty much it. When you try to not make a very strict, tight budget because things happen. So you kind of have to plan for that.
Okay, I'll jump in with my question. So this week, one of the themes of our conference is sort of taking a community approach to financial wellness. And we're going to be talking more about this in our part 2 on Friday. But one question that I had for y'all is, how does like family and community play into financial wellness for you all? And I bring that up because I know for me and for many students that I work with, wealth is very tied to like community and family, right? Like when I was in college, if my family had $10, they were giving me 5. But then sometimes that would go the opposite way. If I had $10, I was giving them 5. And so if you can talk about the ways that family and community play into financial wellness, maybe in positive ways or in negative ways.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I think you read these books that say your five best friends determine your wealth, right? Your 5 closest friends determine your wealth. So it's proximity as well. So you have to be careful, just in a college sense, right? We're going to put it in a college sense because I think our demographic is most of college, and I can speak from that experience as well too. Party time. You have 3 broke friends and you have $50. You're not gonna have $50 at the end of the night. You're gonna have and then the money that you did plan on having, your friends are gonna go sponge off you, right? They're gonna take $10 a piece. You're gonna buy them pizza, you're gonna buy them wings, and then you're gonna be left with no money. And then they're gonna go to the next party and do it to somebody else, right? And then you're gonna be broke with a bad experience. Same thing, right? I come from a very community-based family. So what's mine is yours and yours is mine. In that circumstance, you have to kind of give them education, right? You have to give them tools. Not also money, because once again, the game is habit. Financial literacy is habit. It's not there are security guards, and no knock on security because I used to work security, but he's an inspiration. There's a security guard that used to work for a financial institution, I forget where. And he's a millionaire. He was able to put all 3 of his sons and daughters through college. Just being a security guard, getting paid minimum wage for over 20 years. It was the knowledge. He was able to take the money that he had and make solid investments for every single banker and investor that would come in that parking lot. So it's the knowledge. So a lot of times with my family is that I'm not gonna support your habit, right? I'm not gonna support because I'm breaking my own habits. I don't need to support yours. But what I can do is give you the tools to help you be a better person or be better financially. So that way, if when you come into contact that way, if you're stronger, I'm just as strong as well, right? Giving you tools to say like, hey man, I think you need to here's my number for my financial advisor, right? I think you need to set up a mutual fund. I think you need to put this money away, right? Let me set up this for you. Even close cousins, right? They didn't have they didn't have the educational pursuit, and they didn't have the educational background that I had. But still, I'm helping them on their resume. So because I know that if they have money and they have good jobs, that's less money out of my pocket. So we all play a part in the community to do our part. So that's what the bigger issue is, right, for us, is that when we come out of SSS and we come out of EOF, we have to go back and teach. We have to go back and educate. We have to go back and and you of course you're gonna give some money. If you see somebody desperate, you give money, but more so it's the education. It's that 4 years, it's that 8 years of education. Some people's 12 years, master's degrees, PhDs. That degree has to pay its weight, right? And it's back in charity. So for like this, for me, is an obligation. It's not even it's not giving back. It's paying it forward because you guys have to do it too. So someone was in the same shoes that I was to give me the information that I'm giving you now, right? Just updated. So you have an obligation to your family to give them the tools necessary for them to be successful. An obligation. It's not a suggestion, but it's an obligation. So you have to keep that in mind, but you want to protect your money too as well. So by making everybody stronger around you and more financially sufficient, they won't ask you for $1. You teach a man or woman how to fish.
I think it's to go back on community, what we're talking about is group economics, right? So even on college end, we talk about group economics all the time, right? I have $10, my friend has $10. We're gonna go out, we spending 20, right? So at the end of the day, it's kind of putting the money together to kind of do something that may be a little bit more positive. I know Mr. Hans over here, he started an investment group a couple of years ago, and he decided that he was going to get his friends together to, invest together. So just doing things that you automatically do or normally do on your free time to, go on vacations and do something else, you could kind of do it a little bit more positive to kind of, save money for something else, right? So, college students do that all the time because there's not a lot of money around. So putting your money together to kind of do something that makes more sense than just spending it all.
I think one perk of community and friendships when it comes to financial wellness is accountability. So you can gather your friends, get them on the whole budgeting and savings journey with you, and you all can keep each other in check when it comes to spending. If they you go to the mall or you want to buy something on Amazon, and like, hold up, that's not in the plan for this month, or maybe it's not a good idea to go out and eat this weekend, we'll save for another time. And also like plug in resources on campus to each other. Like there's the student food pantry, and there's always like events, like there's always events on campus giving away free food, so you can save money on groceries and go to these events, and just keeping each other accountable and making sure you're using all the resources that are available to you here, because Rutgers is a big school. There's a ton of resources that a lot of the times I guess get wasted because students are either unaware or not willing to use it. So when you have your friends, you all go together, and so you're not like afraid or whatever to utilize what's available there for you.
And then I have, if there aren't any questions right now, I have one question for Lennox. Can you talk a little bit just about your mindset? I'm not gonna put your business out there, but for those who don't know, Lennox did not have a lot of debt when he graduated college because of all the advantages he took with all the programs that Rutgers offered. So I want to know, can you talk about how when you got on campus, you realized that there were resources available and that you had to go out and find them, because I know they weren't just sent to you or you didn't know, you might have known about them beforehand. So how did you realize to go out and get those resources and understanding the importance that, and then my question for the three of you is, what is the importance of coming out of college with less debt? So my question for Lennox is, how did you have that mindset going in that I need to go out and find all the available resources to make sure I leave with the most Rutgers has to offer? And then my question for all three of you is, what are the advantages that students have of leaving college with less debt?
Okay, good question. Yeah, you put my business on Front Street. I'm laughing. I'm joking. No, I'm public information, right? So I had a very interesting situation around my sophomore year before I became an RA. I jolted, right? That's why financial wellness is just checking in on your your FAFSA, your HISA. I swear I had she's like a gladiator. Her name is Jennifer Augusto, man. She was like she's like my second mom, man. She could call me for anything. So I went to go check in on my financial information, just to check in on at one of the desks, because they used to have a desk under Lucy Stone Hall. I'm telling my age. They used to have a financial aid hub under Lucy Stone Hall, and I went there, and I had a very terrible experience with one of the financial aid ladies. She wasn't really the financial ladies I went to. It was just one that I just like, hey, here's my ID. I just want to know how much, is there everything good? I know I submitted all my documentation, but this was a time where every EST on every document. So when the numbers came back, I think it was like around late September, October, when the numbers came back, I realized that I owed $6,000. And I was like, what? I literally thought in my head, I was like, these people want me to sell drugs, because no one in my family have $6,000. No one. I'm being honest. No one had $6,000. I couldn't scrounge it together. I couldn't ask aunts, right? I couldn't ask multiple people in my family to say, like, can you give me 2,000? Can you give me 2,000? Can you give me 2,000? And I can make the six back. And I realized I was out on an island on my own, right? My mom, she didn't have it. She worked overtime. She didn't have it. My dad, he worked hard, didn't have it. Sisters didn't, no one had it. No one had it in my family. So I realized that I had to solve this problem on my own. So how do I do it, right? And so I went to financial aid, got denied, talked to more people who talked to financial aid, got denied, talked to my wealth counselor. She's like, this is what you have to do, write an appeal letter, until I was able to find the resources needed, right? There was this lady named Ms. Vivian who worked in the financial aid office. And I showed her my appeal letter, and she got my appeal. But that was the turning point where I was like, I can't be broke ever again, right? And one of the things that helped me was that my grades were intact, right? No one wants to help you when your grades are not intact. And so I kind of adapted my whole life in saying, like, I'm never going to be in this position again, right? If it's up to me, I'm never going to be in this position again. So I didn't. So I became an RA, which I knew that it wasn't going to, I didn't have to worry about paying tuition, right? Because I knew that dollar amount cost. Rutgers, I think right now is at like almost like close to 24,000, 26,000. At the time, I was between like 19, 20, 20, like 20, 21-ish a year, right? So if I was an RA, that cut that bill in half, right? So that way the rest of it can cover. The other thing too is that I had on-campus jobs, nothing more than 20 hours, because if you do that, you're just doing yourself a disservice. It's true. The studies are true. I work for a university as well. If you do anything more than 20 hours, you're going to have supervisors that say, hey, can you come in? And they're going to take away from your schoolwork. And if you fail a class, that's like another $6,000 to $7,000 or $8,000 that you have to retake. Trust me, I know, because I failed 3 classes in Rutgers. I'm still paying for it, even though I didn't. And honestly, I walked out of Rutgers with like $9,000 in debt. And those were the 3 classes I failed. I would have actually left out of Rutgers with $0 if I didn't fail any classes. So that was the story. And I had the testament to it is I spoke to this guy. He was from New York. This was my RHD. His name was Mike Brown. He's a dean there now. He had the blueprint. I was an RA. He was my RHD. He had the blueprint where he was an RHD for multiple years, and he had Rutgers paid for through, his tenure. He was an RA, and then he became RHD, and he became directors, and then he kept utilizing that service of free education. So I kind of modeled that template. So when I began to work for another university, I did the same thing. I got my master's degree for no money down. So you can do things in your own scope. Just because you're younger, listen, all the best and brightest minds come from your generation, your class, that college generation class, those 19, 20, 20 years. When you start to become 31, 32, 35, you kind of sink a little bit, right? but a lot of the innovative ideas are with you guys. So you guys have to become very, very savvy in how you approach your finances. And if I didn't ask the financial aid lady, which she kind of told me, like, you guys need to pay your own bill, right? That's what she told me. That kind of joked me. I never forget that feeling. So up to this day, I've always had safety accounts. I always had safety nets. I always have backup emergency accounts. Because I understand the language of being poor, right? I know that it is. You can't be poor and dumb. So I that's why I say that this is an obligation for me. This is more important that I give you this information. But I walked out of college with very little debt, like $9,000, and it could have been zero if I didn't fail those 3 classes. Don't ask me what classes I failed. It's like, now I tell you, I failed Xbox. I failed Xbox 2, and I failed intermediate algebra twice. And I ended up having to take intermediate algebra at community college to get it done. So I'm telling you, I've had every experience, positive and negative, at university, at Rutgers University. And I want to say that you guys can do it. Just utilize the supports necessary. I had 2 tutors. I had 3 tutors. I had 2 math tutors, and I had 1 English tutor for after my sophomore year for the duration of my college year. I just integrated it into my habits as well as my financial habits because I didn't want to fail, and I couldn't afford to fail. I couldn't afford to fail because when you leave out of that school, without your degree or not, 6 months down the line, they're going to send you a note that says, hey, hi, I think it's Navi, it's not Navian anymore, but Sally, at the time, Sally Mae. And they were like, hey, you owe us some money. How you doing? Did you sign your promissory note? And then you got to pay that money, right? You got to pay it back. So I did everything, and I still do everything to not be a burden on society and be financially uncomfortable.
Thank you, Lennox. And then I'm sorry, was there another question? Oh, Tiffany had a question. So Tiffany's question is, what is a reasonable emergency fund to have? That could be for all 3 of the panelists.
I don't want to keep going again. Reasonable is within your means, right? Like what you can afford. I don't know your needs, right? So that's what Miss Richards said. Like you can find a template, and you just be honest too. Find a Google template. You can find multiple templates. Cell phone bill, if you have a car, if you pay rent, whatever it is, your budget for food, whatever it is, you put that down on that chart, and you'll see that minus, right? You'll see your expenses. When you see your expenses, then you can see how much income you have to manage your expenses. If you don't have enough money for your expenses, then you need to cut some of you need to make more income or cut some of your expenses because you're in a deficit. That's what they call it, a deficit. So what you need to do is see exactly what you have, right? And then when you take that, they say you need at least 6 months. That's the average. You probably need more than that, but you need at least 6 months of you paying bills without a job, without your job, you paying bills. So 6 months of whatever you make to have that, So that's important. So for you in college, you should even factor in your books, right? Your books are expenses. If you got a little bit more money, aid to pay your tuition, those are your expenses. Lab coats, protractors, notebooks, pens, pencils. Those things are important as well too because they chew into your budget. So I know somebody said at least 1 year. 1 year is actually really good. They say at least 6 months. You know, the pandemic happened. I don't know people, if anybody doing 1 year, it's good to have 1 year. That's ideal, but you know, that's just bare bones, right? 1 year and 6 months is just bare bones. You're really supposed to have more than that, but 6 months, try to do that first, you know, try to do that first. And you can do it by just squirreling away money, saving, you know, doing the mutual fund, doing whatever index fund. And then, you know, you have Edcoins, right? I try Edcoins out on my phone. It's a very good app. You know, I don't even have to look at it. Whatever money I spend, they just put $1 away for me in an account that I, you know, a credit union account that I don't know. And the other thing too, Miss Richards said something very important. Credit. Build your credit, but not in a way that it'll break you. They used to give us credit for fat sandwiches when I used to go to RU. They used to sign you up for fat sandwiches and they hit you with credit, right? So get a free fat sandwich and sign up for this credit card. You know what I mean? My friends went in debt, owing 24% on a credit card, you know, like low sharking. It's real. I'm being honest, full transparency. But the truth of the matter is, get yourself a secure credit card. You don't need nothing more than $600 worth of debt. If you can't pay off your debt within 2 paychecks, you don't need that type of credit. They'll be willing to give you, God, they'll give you kids, like they'll give y'all $20,000, $30,000, knowing y'all in college, right? You don't need $30,000 worth of credit right now for y'all. You don't. Get yourself a secured credit card, right? So that way you can manage your credit, you know, gets, you know, something like $300, $600. You don't need more than that, because you're going to have to pay that back with the interest. Well, secured credit is pretty much your money, but get something where you can build credit and start with a secured credit card. Very small fee, very small amount of money. So that way you're not spending a lot of money and you don't feel obligated, because I know peer pressure is a big thing. You know, your friends will say, girl, buy me that dress. Or, you know, your friends are going to say, yo, buy me this pair of sneakers. And next thing you know, you buy yourself $150 pair of sneakers and you buy somebody else $150, that's $300 right there. And then next thing you know, you're like, man, I got to pay that back plus interest. So, and I always say manage the small number before you manage the large number.
Thank you, Lennox. And thank you to all of the panelists. You guys give a lot of good information today. Super insightful and definitely important for everyone to know, not just college students. I would say everyone.
Also, shout out to the panelists. Y'all were amazing. Several students had to drop off in the middle of the call because they had classes or things like that, but they messaged me in the chat. Everyone had really great things to say and just said, thank you. This has been very helpful for them. So we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys again. Thank you to everyone. Lennox just dropped his email. If anyone else wants to speak with anyone of the panelists personally, we can definitely provide you with the information if you guys weren't able to get it. And for those of you who know, Kashay is a member of SSS as an academic coach, so she's on here on campus. Well, not physically, but she's around, and you guys can definitely reach out to her and make an appointment to speak with her, and may see her at some of the events throughout the year.
And I forgot to say this at the beginning, I apologize, but Paige Fisk is also one of our academic mentors as well. And it's very fitting that I think you were talking about boundaries, Paige, because she has a master's in social work and she is an academic coach to support with general wellness. So you can also set up a meeting with her, and I'll drop that link as well.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us for part 1. We hope to see all of you for part 2 on Friday. From 1 to 3, we will have Trill or Not Trill doing a very dope presentation on financial wellness and literacy. We hope to see you guys all there.